Hi everyone, I'm Willem and this is Insert Disk X. Thanks for clicking on the video today. This is my channel all about gaming and technology, so let's talk about it. Today I've got two topics, SteamOS Plugins and one of my favorite game series of all time, Max Payne. So let's get into it. SteamOS Plugins. For those who don't know, SteamOS is an Arch Linux-based operating system developed by Valve, specifically designed to provide a console-like interface for gaming on the Steam Deck or other handhelds. It will also be running on the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame when they release later this year, hopefully soon. SteamOS doesn't currently natively support plugins, but some clever devs have created some tools that enhance your experience and add some much needed flexibility. Don't get me wrong, SteamOS is awesome, but I'm sure like me, you like customizing your stuff to your liking. All of the plugins I'll talk about today are added via the main tool Decky Loader, which is the first item I'll be chatting about today. So, Decky Loader is an open source plugin loader that allows you to add extra features and customization options to the Steam Deck's gaming mode that aren't available by default. At its core, Decky Loader is a homebrew tool that injects a new menu into your quick access menu, the menu that pops up when you press the three dots button on the right side on your Steam Deck. It doesn't modify SteamOS's system files directly, instead it injects functionality on top of the existing interface, making it relatively safe and easy to install. Here is a list of capabilities it adds to your SteamOS experience. Visual customizations. You can use the CSS Loader plugin to change the entire look of your UI, from changing the shape of the game tiles to adding custom themes. Utility and performance. Add tools like Powertools to tweak your CPU and GPU behavior for better battery life or emulation performance. Information integration. Display ProtonDB badges on game pages to see how well they run on Linux, or use how long to beat to see the game length at a glance. Quality of life changes. Features like Steam Grid DB let you change game artwork directly from the handheld UI, and Bluetooth plugins make managing your controllers much easier. Something to mention though is that because Decky Loader relies on Steam UI, often it breaks after a major SteamOS update. This isn't ideal, but sometimes you got to deal with these sort of things when you're modifying your standard SteamOS experience. Luckily, it only takes a couple of days for the community to fix it, so it's well worth having this functionality at hand. Our second item for discussion on this topic is Lossless Scaling. Originally a Windows app, Lossless Scaling is a tool that allows you to use frame generation on any game, regardless of whether the developer officially supports it. On the Steam Deck, it uses a specialized Linux layer installed via the Decky Loader to artificially double or even triple your frame rates. So how does it work? For frame generation, it analyzes 2 consecutive frames and uses AI to draw a fake frame in between them. This turns a shaky 30 frames per second game into a visually smooth 60 frames per second experience. For universal upscaling, if a game doesn't have FSR built in, this tool can take a low resolution image and upscale it using various algorithms. Sounds too good, right? But there is a catch. It isn't a free performance button. There are 2 main trade-offs you need to know about. Input latency. Because of the software has to wait for the frames to exist before it can generate the fake ones, there is a slight delay between your button press and the action on the screen. It's great for RPGs like Elden Ring, but terrible for competitive shooters. Visual artifacts. Fast moving objects like a character running past a fence might show some ghosting or shimmering around the edges. Why use the Decky plugin for lossless scaling frame generation? Well, setting this up used to require desktop mode tinkering, so now you just use the plugin to streamline everything. It lets you toggle frame generation on and off from the quick access menu. It handles the launch options for you, and it gives you a slider for the flow scale, allowing you to balance between smoothness and image quality on the fly. So for comparison with built-in FSR on Steam Deck, FSR makes the game look better at lower resolutions, where lossless scaling makes the games smoother at lower frame rates. Next item is Unifideck. Unifideck is fairly new. It's a Decky Loader plugin designed to unify your collection from multiple storefronts, specifically Good Old Games, Epic Game Store and Amazon Games. It adds it directly into your Steam Deck library, unlike other methods that require you to switch to the desktop mode or open a separate app like the Heroic launcher. Unifideck makes these games look and feel like native Steam titles. Here is a few reasons why it's considered a game changer. Total integration. It adds custom tabs to your library. For example, an Epic Games tab or a GOG tab right next to your Steam games. No desktop mode needed. You can authenticate your accounts, browse your library, and even install and uninstall games entirely within the gaming mode. Native feel. It fetches high quality artwork, covers, banners, logos from the Steam Grid DB automatically, and even pulls in the Metacritic scores and game metadata, so your Epic Games or GOG games don't look like broken non-Steam shortcuts. Built-in utility. It handles the technical side, like setting up Proton prefixes and managing wine tricks in the background so that games just work when you hit play. You do need to restart your Steam Deck though after each game that you install, but I mean that's a small thing to do to get this functionality. Junk Store is its main rival, but Unifideck is gaining a lot of traction because it's open source and it's free, whereas some of the Junk Store's advanced features like the GOG support were historically behind a paywall. So that was just a short coverage of some of the awesome SteamOS plugins that you get. There is loads more, but these are just a few ones that I found very useful. Let's talk games now. The Max Payne series is essentially a playable neo-noir action movie. It's famous for its gritty atmosphere, cynical narration, and most importantly, pioneering the use of bullet time in video games. The graphic novel panels in between levels gave the game such a cool noir style, narrated by Max Payne, which is voiced by the late iconic James McCaffrey, with his deep emotional voice adding to this dark and gritty atmosphere of the game. Max Payne 1 was released in 2001 on PC, PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Here is a short summary of the story. After his wife and infant daughter are murdered by junkies high on the designer drug called Valkyr, NYPD detective Max Payne goes undercover in the mafia to find those responsible. Framed for the murder of his partner and hunted by both police and the mob, Max descends into a snow-shrouded New York underworld. His quest for vengeance eventually leads him past street thugs to a massive corporate conspiracy tied to a secret military project. What makes it different was the successful implementation of the bullet time, a slow-motion mechanic inspired by Hong Kong action movies and The Matrix. Because of a limited budget, the story was told through unique static graphic novel panels rather than cinematic cutscenes, using the digitized faces of the development team. Most famously, writer Sam Lake's iconic constipated smirk. The game was an absolute blast. I just could not get enough of this game. I lost a lot of high school exam time playing this game. I still remember my dad catching me playing it, and then he packed my PC away for like a week. It's well worth it all to get that sweet bullet time action. So much fun. Alright, Max Payne 2, it was released in 2003 on PC, PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Set 2 years after the first game's events. Max has been cleared of the previous charges and is back on the force as a detective. During a routine murder investigation, he crosses paths with Mona Sachs, a contract killer he thought was dead. The story shifts from a pure revenge tale to a tragic film noir love story as the two become targets of a group of professional assassins known as the Cleaners. Max must navigate a web of betrayal within a secret society called the Inner Circle while questioning his own loyalty. What made it different from the first game was the introduction of physics-based combat, or ragdoll physics, making the environments and bodies react realistically to explosions and gunfire. It also featured secondary protagonist gameplay, allowing you to play as Mona Sachs in several levels. The bullet time too was refined, allowing Max to move faster as he kills more enemies. The second one is my favorite of the series. I've finished it so many times. The gameplay was awesome and the story was just very interesting. Max Payne 3. It released in 2013 on PC, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. Nearly a decade after the second game, a broken alcoholic Max has left New York behind to work as a private security contractor for a wealthy family in Sao Paulo, Brazil. When the family matriarch is kidnapped by a local street gang, Max is thrusted into a sunlight-drenched nightmare of corruption and organ trafficking. As the conspiracy unravels, Max is forced to shed his past and his hair to save what remains of his soul in an unfamiliar land. What made this one different was that it was developed by Rockstar Games and not by Remedy. It swapped the snowy New York alleys for the colorful but lethal streets of Brazil. It introduced a cover-based system and a last stand mechanic, where Max can survive a fatal shot if he kills his attacker while falling. The graphic novel panels were replaced with motion comics cutscenes that used in-game assets and styled text overlays to maintain the series' signature noir feel. Sadly, that's where the series ended, but some really good news came out that made me really excited. If you haven't heard yet, the original developer Remedy is remaking the first two games into one game. The game will be reimagined in their Northlight engine, their in-house engine that they use to make Control and Alan Wake 2. This means we can expect top-tier lighting, facial animations and highly destructible environments. The game should launch on PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. I'm thinking it will most likely only release next year, since Rockstar is the publisher and would probably not want to release it around GTA 6, which is releasing in November. I'm such a big fan of Remedy games, and I'm sure this remake will be utterly amazing. Remedy is also releasing Control Resonant this year, which looks really awesome, and I'm sure the Northlight engine improvements will benefit then the Max Payne remake. I just hope that the game will include all the upscaling technologies like FSR4 and the latest XeSS3. No doubt it'll have DLSS 4.5. Their games tend to require some power to play at the max settings, so it would be great if all the GPU tech can be supported. And that's the show for today. If you liked it, please click the like button, and if you're keen to listen to more discussions like this, please consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. I'd like to hear from you as well, so please leave a comment below. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy gaming.